We asked each of the mayoral candidates about their take on a new effort in addition to the co-responder program, which is a police program where an officer and a behavioral health expert respond to certain 911 calls. What about the idea of just sending behavioral health experts on those calls, certain ones? Here's their take.
The alternative response is where if someone's having some kind of mental health crisis that is where we know that they're not a danger or armed, that someone who's a healthcare worker could go out and help them address their crisis. So I have publicly said I'm supportive of such a strategy and have pledged to start $50,000 in partnership with other entities who could help provide those services, like the Knox County Health Department, the state of Tennessee, and we'd need to find a provider willing to do it. So I think it's a great strategy. Goodness knows our police officers would be relieved to have fewer calls to respond to. So I love the concept.
I like HEART. To be honest, HEART was something that was collectively done by the community base of our clinical specialists, our mental health therapists, and other experts, as well as the fact HEART has had 3 years of work put behind it, and they are using national success models such as Denver Star, Cahoots, and other models that we've seen work in other cities. So I would prefer to see HEART as an alternative response.
That's with no officer involved in those mental health calls.
Correct. We're talking about crisis calls where we've seen, unfortunately, when officers are involved, the situation seems to escalate versus de-escalate.
The co-responder is a great program. I think in some ways part of the mixed signals that get sent in Knoxville is the alternate response discussion that's being entertained. It is effectively a backdoor way of defunding the police. If you look at the way in which the proponents of the alternate response team conduct themselves in city council meetings, they don't demonstrate what I think should be a therapeutic bedside manner if indeed they want to offer therapeutic care.
Mayor Kincannon did suggest and helped usher through that tax increase for property owners, and the money went to first responders. If you were on council, if you were the mayor, would you agree with that tax increase?
I think we need to look at the budget. I think there's probably a lot of places that there's a lot of waste. Nobody's checked it in a long time. I think.
Does anything pop out to you that you would like to see reduced?
Not right off.
We're back with our panel and their take. Again, we were focused mostly on this alternate response program. Don?
Well, I think in theory it has some merit at some level, but listen, the first time that one of these alternate responders without an armed officer goes out and gets shot, okay, the program is going to go up in the air. I think what it is an addition to law enforcement. Can we send a mental health volunteer,
the co-responder,
a co-responder with an officer? This concept that some of these candidates seem to be pushing, this is the answer. No, it's not, because we defund a mental health hospital, but now we want to put a bunch of mental health professionals in the field and put them in harm's way alone. Possibly. That's not the answer.
I would say they would say it's maybe part of the answer is why they're entertaining it.
Well, part of the answer, but not the thought of going to a domestic violence situation where someone may have a mental health problem, where we can't even get a red flag law in this state to get guns away from that person we know. That's not a recipe that's going to work.
Susan?
Somehow I knew we'd have gun control in this.
Of course. It's right through this whole issue.
This was sort of new to me when I read a bit about it, but it came, apparently the program from Eugene, Oregon, which first of all put up a red flag for me. But
it's a lovely place, Susan.
Your left coast alarms went off.
Yes, my whole went off. But I agree with Don. Certainly, if there's a mental health issue going on in a home and you send someone out that doesn't have a gun or doesn't have protection, then I would worry about it.
But we don't know where the guns are. We don't have any idea.
We don't. Well, we know anyone can have them.
That's absolutely true.
John, you've been to the forums. We're going to hear from one quickly. Did this come up at any of the forums that you attended?
That I recall, yeah, I think so. And I think generally speaking, everybody was in support of it. I think Constance said what she said at that forum. I think everybody generally sort of says why would you not try to do something like this? Because we have so many situations arising, not just, it's almost daily.
We're going to take another quick break on Instant Tennessee. Back with more of our discussion on the mayoral candidates for the city of Knoxville when we come back.